goodness. What is the Playing Hurt episode today? Physical hurt, medical hurt, head hurt, heart hurt, all kinds of hurt going on.
Everything hurt. We are barely hanging on. Yeah. We are smiling through the pain. I wish we could drown our pain.
Anyway,
we can't.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 92 of the Gene Pool Variety Hour. I'm the old guy. I'm your host, Sean, and the other guy, the co-host on the other side of the screen is...
I go by Connor. I go by Bo. I go by Sweet Cheeks. I go by Sunshine. I go by Mr. Connor, Mr. Bo. I go by everything under the sun.
Okay, so why is there always this long, pregnant pause when I introduce you, and there's like 5 seconds of just silence as you kind of get gear up to introduce yourself? It's pretty easy to go, "Hey, I'm Connor." I mean, it's pretty easy.
Do you want me to stutter through my bland intro, or do you want me to be a little bit more extravagant and flamboyant?
Yeah, I know. But when you read, you don't stutter.
I mean, that's my bit.
You should write your intro out and just read it. There you go.
Yeah,
like a script. Get you a teleprompter.
Yeah, but then it won't be Connor. My whole thing is that I am improv off the cuff, just off the top of my head.
Your whole life has been off the cuff.
I mean, half of the notable stuff that I've done on here has just been me vibing. I get that.
I
For
get
example,
that. I get
the
that.
one bit that I bet still makes you laugh. It's all about them cues, nonverbal.
Hey.
All about them cues, nonverbal.
Only my
I'm bringing psyche back.
Only my neurodivergent son would come up with those lyrics to that song. Anyway, listen, for those that have never heard us before, my condolences that you're listening to us now. But we're just a couple of nerds, father and son, and we just like to hang out and talk about nerdy stuff. We usually watch a movie. We pick a movie at random and talk about it. And the one we got this week's kind of interesting. And then we just talk about nerd stuff and just whatever strikes our fancy for a while. Sometimes we ramble on way too long with that, and we're going to try not to do that tonight.
We always do.
But, speaking of which, I forgot to turn the timer back on the stream, so there we go. So,
okay,
not that we ever pay attention to it.
Hold on. Dad,
yes.
If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. Do it.
And for those that are listening to this only on the podcast, sorry, but I had to show Connor my new shirt that I got this week.
I have to show you my new shirt. Check it out. See,
distance raptor
divided by time raptor equals velociraptor.
Nice. And mine said chaotic good intentions, questionable methods, which pretty much sums up my D&D character. So, anyway,
that sums up our entire life. That sums up humanity as a whole.
Well, I don't know that humanity as a whole has always had good intentions. So there have been times in history where humanity has been, chaotic evil.
Einstein always had good intentions.
Yeah, but you said humanity. You said humanity in general. I'm talking about humanity in general. We are basically sinful, horrible things. So anyway,
True.
So what do you want to talk about? Let's just jump right in. What do you want to talk about? What kind of topics are striking your fancy this week?
Well, I have a fun fact for you, Papa Bear. Can you guess what week it is?
May? The first full week in May?
No.
2 weeks after your birthday?
Holiday week. What week do you think it is?
Well, I mean, there was May the 4th be with you and Revenge of the 5th on May 4th and 5th. I mean, I get Star Wars Day. I mean, I get that.
You're thinking too nerdy. It's Teacher Appreciation Week.
I don't think much anything else, okay? So, okay, Teacher Appreciation Week. That's awesome.
Well, it's Teacher Appreciation Week.
Well,
yes.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm. So all week. So
go ahead.
So all week we've been getting donations from parents of gift bags, goodies, food, all kinds of stuff.
That's great.
And mhm. and and then Miss Tyler, my supervisor, she gave everyone a card with $10 in it. I used that to get me some McDonald's and treat myself a little bit after the fun week I've had.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
I'm
this.
smiling through the pain because my kids are insane.
Yeah, well, I could have said that my whole parenting life, but that's another story.
Okay, Dad, let me give you some context. See,
Okay.
I remember how I was as a kid.
Mhm.
I remember how I was as a kid.
Yeah.
I was totally off the walls, insane, right?
Yep. Yep.
Didn't listen to you at all.
Nope.
I just did my own thing.
Yep.
I thought everything was funny because when people tried to redirect me, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Imagine that, but there's 15 of them in the classroom.
Mm. And you were never mean about it. It wasn't like you were obstinate
No.
or oppositional defiant. You
No.
just were too hyper and too just
To
to go
hyper
and do
to
it. Yeah.
understand.
So
Exactly.
yeah.
But
But
yeah,
anyway.
picture that, but 15 of them
Okay.
in a classroom.
So this is what it's like. This is what it's kind of the vibe where I work. This week is also Nurses Week. So as you drive into the hospital, some of the leadership and some of the staff of the hospital has been out on the main drive with these huge signs saying, "We love our nurses, we love our nurses, and we appreciate you," and all this kind of stuff, waving at everybody as they come in. And they had a catered barbecue lunch for all the nurses at the hospital. Okay. Last week, or it was 2 weeks ago, was Psychologist Week. And they made a big deal. They kept making a big deal. Oh, it's going to be Psychologist Week. It's going to be Psychologist Week. Guess what we had? About 10 of us psychologists
a donut bar.
About 10 of us psychologists got together in a conference room, and somebody brought a box of like Subway sandwiches, and somebody brought a box of cookies, and we sat for half an hour. That was it. So I'm sitting there going, they like their nurses more than they like their psychologists, apparently, where I work. So, but anyway, so any nerdy stuff going
on? Let's see. Me and Nick's got into Magic the Gathering recently.
Well, I mean, you had been in Magic the Gathering before, right?
Well, yeah, but I sold but I sold all that stuff of mine.
Yep.
To that guy in the valley that had that hole in the wall shop, you know.
Sure. It wasn't a hole in the wall
Remember
shop.
that?
It was just a small shop there in West Point. Right. It wasn't a hole in the wall. It was a nice little place.
Yeah. I sold him all my stuff, and I thought I had grown out of it fully once I moved up here, but as it turns out, Nick has been wanting to get into it for a long time, so we started trolling online to see if we could get some stuff cheap, and as it turns out,
yeah,
there was this guy at one of our local nerd shops.
Yeah.
His wife was doing this big overhaul of stuff, and so this guy was just getting rid of stuff that he hadn't touched in a long time, that he didn't have the intention of using for a while, mainly because he was having a kid on the way too.
Yeah.
So he was like, "Listen, I know how it is. Trying to get into this world. It can be expensive. Just come to me, plead your case. I'll see what I can do for you." And the guy gave us 2 free full commander decks.
Wow, nice.
For those of you who don't know, commander in Magic the Gathering means it's 100 card deck.
Cool.
100 cards.
Yeah.
And one of the rules is you can't have any duplicates of a card in your deck of commander. So that just tells you the amount of diversity in these decks, Dad. It's insane.
Great. I mean, that's great that somebody gave you those packs, because I'm sure a commander pack would be pretty expensive if you bought it.
Oh, we checked. A fresh minted commander deck, like in the box with like all its bells and whistles and everything,
Right.
at at least $40.
Hmm, okay. Well, not as much as I
Yeah,
thought it would be, because of course I'm not a Magic the Gathering guy, so I wouldn't know.
yeah,
But anyway, okay, well, that's cool. Cool.
yeah.
I
So
mean,
that's been fun.
I've just, we went and saw me and Mitch went and saw Thunderbolts last Saturday, and it
Oh,
was phenomenal. Yes, you're about to say something.
um, I I saw a clip of that Red Guardian scene. He had just saved a little girl from that falling debris,
Yeah.
and then the next second, Shadow.
Yep. Yep.
Oh man, that made my heart sink.
Oh, listen. So,
Oh man.
I'm not gonna do spoilers and stuff because it's only been out a week, and there's probably a lot of people that still haven't seen it yet. But I would say, and there haven't been a lot of um, Marvel movies out lately, right? Not as many as there have been. They kind of slowed down on movies. They did finally admit, hey, we spread ourselves too thin, doing too many shows and all this kind of stuff. So they're pulling back, and they're going to just kind of focus on movies. They're going to have somebody else in MCU or in Marvel that's going to focus on TV shows, and they're going to put up maybe one or two a year, and they're just going to refocus on
As
the
they
movies.
should have from the beginning.
It
As they
was
should have
Disney.
from the
It wasn't
beginning.
Marvel's decision. It was Disney's decision to push all that
Yeah.
because they were trying to money grab, and then even Disney has
Yeah.
realized we went too far with this. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, but I had just as much fun and enjoyed this movie, and was just as emotionally moved with this movie as I was with Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So I think this has probably been the best Marvel movie since that movie. Um, so I mean, this one is just good on so many levels. I mean, look, it was your Marvel superhero movie. There was all the explosions and all the fun and all the action and this kind of stuff. And of course, it was Marvel, so there's plenty
Hey,
of funny stuff in between them. Yes.
um real quick. Nick's is about to pull up. I just gotta unlock the door real quick. I'll be right
Okay,
back.
then just go do it and don't have to announce it on the stream. Just go.
I'm sorry. I didn't want I didn't want to just disappear and you're like, okay, now he's going. You know?
Yep.
2 hours later.
And I'm back.
I just decided to stop. And I'm going to cut that out of the podcast. Because
I'm sorry, Dad.
because because you left your headphones next to your mic, so I was echoing. So it just made no sense.
I'm sorry.
So we're going to cut all that out, and now we're going to go back to talking about Thunderbolts. So, like I was saying, I think it was as good as Guardians of the Galaxy 3 on all the multiple levels. The action, the superhero stuff, the humor that Marvel always has. But also just on the emotional level, there were so many levels of emotions, and really, the villain in this movie really was mental health. It wasn't. I mean, yes, Sentry is technically the villain. Valentine, Julie Louis-Dreyfus's character, I can't remember all her names. She's got 5 names. They were kind of the villains of the movie, but the real villain was mental health. Every character in this movie was going through something. Doubt, loneliness, isolation, lack of purpose, lack of meaning, pain, history of abuse, just so much. And so I truly enjoyed it. It hit me a whole lot harder than I thought it would because I wasn't expecting all that. But, I mean, when Falcon and Winter Soldier, John Walker, I mean, he was just a jerk. There was nothing redeemable about him. Didn't like it. Didn't like his character at all. He was kind of cool in this movie because he was kind of cool in this movie because he made crack jokes and so they actually made him likable in this movie, which was a feat of writing.
I actually disagree with you. I thought John Walker in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, in the beginning, he was a decorated soldier who did a lot of incredible things, and he was just trying to fill the role that Steve Rogers had spent literally decades mytholizing, you know. So he was just trying
what?
to do his
Mytholizing?
mytholi.
What is that word?
I mean, for the longest time, Captain America, Steve Rogers was like a legend
Okay.
to the history books, and then he came back and did all these things as Captain America, brought back from the dead, basically.
Yeah.
So John Walker had some incredible shoes to fill, and that put a lot of pressure on him.
Right. I mean,
And he was just trying to do his best to not only alleviate that pressure, but also do what he felt like he had to do to live up to that name.
yeah, but if you remember, the super serum will basically exacerbate your inner character. So Captain America became an even better guy, an even more honorable guy, an even more guy of integrity. John Walker, yes, he did a lot of things, but there was a selfish, self-centered, narcissistic streak in him that drove him to get all that stuff, right? Not just I'm a good guy. It's like I want to be the cool, biggest badass on the planet. I want to be that guy, right? And so the super serum,
I didn't get that vibe from him.
oh yeah, so the super serum just kind of exacerbated that. So he was just, and his underlying anger, it made that worse. So anyway, so it, I'm not going to talk a lot about the movie because we're not really trying to review Thunderbolts, but it's definitely,
especially because I haven't seen it.
It's light years above what Brave New World was. That was a train wreck, if you ask me. Deadpool and Wolverine was great and it was fun, but it was just fun and kind of like fan, service. By
it was fan service
and it was just fun. But as far as a deeper multi-level movie, it wasn't. This one definitely
Deadpool
was.
is never going to be multi-level.
No, it's not. It's not. Right. And so it's never. So it's going to be a fun
if you're
movie.
looking for multi-level, Deadpool is not the character for you.
Right, and I get that. And so, it's the issue is that those movies are going to be fun, but they're never going to be a movie that's going to kind of hit you at multiple levels. This one did, and so that made it a really, really full, thoroughly good movie. So and hold on, and Florence Pugh is the gift we don't deserve. She is just good in everything she does. She's fantastic in this. She plays the funny part. She plays the funny in it, and you're freezing on me. She plays the funny in it well. She plays the sad, despair well, and she does her own. You've seen probably in the trailer. You've seen that scene of her jumping off that building in the trailer.
Yeah,
that's the second tallest building in the world, and she literally stepped off that building. Of course, they had her.
Like that's not special effects.
No, she literally stepped off the edge of that building, the second highest building in the world, in I think Abu Dhabi. Yep. And of course, they had the safety harness CG'd out, so she didn't parachute down. That was somebody else. But the close up of her stepping off the building, she literally did that. And at first, they had it written for her to do it. And then all the insurers of all the production people go, oh no, we don't have enough insurance money for that, for our biggest star to do something like that. And she fought to do it, and she ended up having to do it twice. So she stepped off that building twice, and I'm like, all right, you got some balls, girl.
Balls the size of
church bells,
of bowling balls.
No.
I was gonna say bowling balls, but okay.
Reverend, you got balls the size of church bells. You don't know what that movie's from, do you?
It sounds familiar. What's it from?
Dragnet. Dan Aykroyd, Tom Hanks.
No.
It's a line from Dabney Coleman. Reverend, you got balls as big as church bells. So anyway.
So Dad, I have a question.
Sure.
So I remember you loving the movie The Eternals, right?
Well, you have a poor memory.
No, you loved it if it was a separate entity from the Marvel.
Nope.
No, that's what you said.
Nope, I did not. I never said that. I said as a Marvel superhero movie, I did not like it at all. If you went into the movie looking at it as a drama, like a deep relationship drama, whose main characters happen to be superheroes, and you looked at it from that point of view, it was better. still was not one of my favorite movies at all. No.
What movie am I thinking of?
I have no idea what you're talking about. It's just you making up more memories. I don't know, because it certainly wasn't me. It must have been somebody else. So no, I mean, it's absolutely worth seeing. If you don't get to see it in the theater, man, you got to watch it at some point. It's one of my favorites. Now, and there goes Connor. So Connor just dropped.
No, Dad, I'm here.
Okay, well, your camera disappeared, so I don't know what happened there. So
it was nothing.
This is just going to be a really fun, high quality show tonight, apparently. So we're having all kinds of quirky issues. Okay, so moving on. Anything else going on? I mean, I'm super jazzed for, they had the live stream update on the new expansion for Destiny that's coming out in July, I believe, called the Year of Prophecy. It looks really cool. They added a new thing called Rite of the Nine this week, where you can basically play 3 dungeons, almost in 3 different levels, to kind of teach you how to play those dungeons. So that's kind of cool. So I'm really excited about that. But the thing I'm most excited about is Borderlands 4 coming out in September, because that's like bread and butter for me and you, And everything seems like it's going to be better, bigger, faster, everything, right? I think that there's the four heroes, the 4 Vault Hunters. They've already basically said there's going to be 2 more that are going to come as DLC already. They've already mentioned that. So I'm super excited about that. They've added 3 new gun manufacturers, so they've added even more gun manufacturers, and they've added the feature where certain guns will drop that are a mixture of different gun manufacturers. So you might have a gun that you can throw to reload, like TDR, that has the shield of Hyperion, or, it's going to be a mixture of guns. So it won't be just all Hyperion or all Jacobs or whatever. You might find some that are actually a mixture of features from all the different gun manufacturers. So that's kind of cool.
That sounds awesome.
It's really cool. So they say that the skill trees are much more in depth, and so it just looks really, really cool. So I'm super excited about that. And I watched a little bit of that live stream panel today about it, and they put out some kind of shift code for keys, and I think Randy Pitchford, he said it's for like 75 keys. For like
what?
He said this code, and I haven't put it in yet, but he said this code is for like 75 gold and diamond keys for Borderlands 1, 2, 3, Tiny Tina's, Borderlands 4 when it comes out. So it's like this huge code. So I took a picture of it. So
yeah, please send that to me. Send that to me.
I will.
Send that to me.
I'm probably not going. Well, I don't know if I should put it in now, or if I should put it in, because I don't know if it'll lock out keys for Borderlands 4 if I wait. Anyway. So I'll check that out.
Oh, but Dad, so listen. You haven't been doing this recently, have you? Putting in
no, I haven't. I haven't.
So they recently updated it. One code works for all the games. You put in the code in Shift. If the thing gives you the options of those games, and then you can just resubmit the code until you do it for all the games you want to do it in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but see, I don't know if you can put it in for Borderlands 4 if Borderlands 4 is not even out yet, and I'm afraid that the code will be expired by the time Borderlands 4 comes out. That's my thing.
Yeah, but if you go ahead and grab it and use it, you can then still use it to get it for all the other games that you still enjoy playing.
Well, true.
So you'll still get something out of it.
Yeah, true. I gotta pull up and pull out Borderlands 1 and 2 and see if I can still download them from my account. But anyway, so I've started playing.
I tried one. I could not get into it. Mainly because I had started with 2, and then when I tried to. And then when I tried to play through 1, I saw everything they had fixed from 1 in 2, and I couldn't downgrade to play through 1. So I just ended up watching videos to get the lore and everything from 1, so I can stay caught up with everything,
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I finally finished Indy. I talked about that last time. I started playing South of Midnight. It's really good. It's not going to be that long of a game, but it'll be a nice little game to play. I got all those other games. Oblivion, I'll play this summer, probably. And I might even do a live stream of that. I don't know.
What do you think of Hazel Flood as a character? What do you think of her as a character?
I mean, she's interesting. I mean, you know, it's not your typical main character for a game, and so I think that's good. You know, to get a young African American female as the lead character, and she kind of has the attitude of, man, what movie was that in? Where she basically is Ironheart in the Marvel stuff.
That would be the third Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
Well, actually, technically the second Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
So, I don't think Black Panther had a two.
Anyway, so
no,
kind of her attitude, you know, that she reminds me of her.
But kind of put through a Southern filter.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, just the attitude. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and I didn't like when I saw the videos and the previews and stuff. I didn't like the animation style on the videos, but once you play it, it kind of fits and it's kind of nice, right? But it just it doesn't transfer as well on like videos on YouTube to me as it does playing it live.
How do you like the catfish character? I love the catfish character.
You know, I've just now gotten to the catfish character. I'm playing the level where I just met him. I'm trying to do whatever it is I got to do to free him. He's stuck in a tree, so I got to get him out of the tree.
Oh yeah.
and you know, and then he'll be my sidekick from there. So
yeah.
But anyway, I mean, you know,
I love the design he has. You know, it's kind of it's kind of split. Morning and night. Have you kind of noticed that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so that's kind of the stuff that I got planned. You know, coming up, finishing South of Midnight.
I am so jealous.
Playing Oblivion. I'll probably fire it up until the Destiny expansion comes out. And I'll play that probably until Borderlands comes out, and then that's probably all I'll play for a while is Borderlands. So we'll see. But anyway, so how about we just talk about the movie? Like I said, I'm kind of playing hurt. I've got a nasty cold, and medicine's clearly not working. I'm drinking hot tea with honey and lemon here, and it's not doing any good. And as you can hear, I can't breathe. So how about we just talk about this movie? Because this is a really interesting movie. I wasn't expecting it to be, but the more I think about it, the more levels there are, the more layers there are to this movie. So how about we do that? What?
I just think there's one level, in my opinion.
Oh no, there's a bunch. But anyway, so all right, so let's just jump into the next segment of Roll for Credits, okay? All right, so the movie we watched this week is
called Cat Person.
Yeah, a movie from 2023 called Cat Person. It's based on a 2017 short story called Cat Person by a woman named Kristen Rupinian. I'm sorry for butchering that. And it was published in the New Yorker. And it said, and the thing that I saw was that it was kind of written as a response to the whole Me Too movement that was going on then about, you know, sexual abuse and sexual assault and sexual harassment and everything. And so the tagline for the movie is, when Margot, a college sophomore, goes on a date with the older Robert, she finds that he doesn't live up to the Robert she had been flirting with over text. A razor-sharp exploration of the horrors of dating. And it was stinking awkward. It was very awkward.
Especially that one scene.
So it stars Amelia Jones as Margot. It stars Nicholas Braun as Robert. Those are the love interests in the movie. And then it also stars Geraldine Viswanathan. I'm butchering that too, I'm sure. And she plays Margot's best friend Taylor. Okay? Now, did you know? Well, we'll get to that later because I don't think you do. So,
I don't know a lot of stuff. My head is empty.
The woman who directed this also directed The Flight Attendant, which is that show with Kaylee Cuoco, where she's a flight attendant, but then ends up becoming a spy. And then she also directed The Spy Who Dumped Me, which is Mila Kunis and I forgot who the other person. Kate McKinnon. and they kind of are normal people become spies. So she's used to kind of doing movies about women who can become strong characters. So I thought it was kind of cool. And the movie is classified as a psychological thriller, a comedy, a drama, and a mystery. All 4 of those are listed in the categories for this movie. And when I first saw that, I went, what? And then I watched the movie and went, yep, that makes sense. Yep, I can see every one of those. So
I didn't see it.
So the premise is that Margot, she just works at the concession stand at a theater, and Robert comes into the theater to see a movie and buy some snacks from her, and they start kind of chatting, and then he comes in to see another movie the next night, and they're chatting some more, and he asks for her phone number, and they start kind of texting back and forth, and the texts get more and more flirty. They're more and more cute, and they're just witty and smart, texting back and forth. They decide to go out on a date, and things just go horribly wrong. And they go horribly wrong not so much because things went horribly wrong, but they went horribly wrong because of presuppositions and presumptions that each of them were making about each other. Mm-hmm. That's what happens in today's dating world. You know, there was
and people just don't communicate.
Listen, there was a great line. Let me see if I can find it. Man, I thought I had it on here. Yeah, there was a quote on the screen at the very beginning of the movie by Margaret Atwood, and it says, "Men are afraid that women will laugh at them. Women are afraid that men will kill them." And that's kind of what this movie was all about. You know, here's this awkward guy, and he's worried what she's thinking about him, and worries that he's doing things right, and all this kind of stuff. And she's just assuming that he's some weird stalker, killer kind of guy, and starts reacting based on her misconceptions and presumptions. And then he starts reacting very negatively because he's afraid of getting accused of something that he didn't do. All of which are things that we hear about in the culture today. But it's kind of the stuff we hear about in the culture from media, not so much real life all the time. Because media only portrays those things. It makes everybody think that that's just the way things are all the time, and it's not. But everybody, and that's why I'm so glad I'm married and never plan on being unmarried, or if I'm ever not married because my wife goes to heaven before me, I will never date again because I don't want no. So, and in this movie, and I'm not saying that this movie is a movie that basically tries to convince you not to date. It's just showing you what the risks are, and what the risks are when you make all these assumptions based on the things you see around you and what people say. So, so there was a lot of things going on, right? You know, they went on a date, and it was kind of awkward.
They went on a couple of dates.
Yeah, well, they went on the first. Well, the first date was kind of. He came over to the lab on campus where she worked, brought her some stuff from 7-Eleven. That was kind of their first date, and then things went bad there. And at one point, they're in like a storage room, and the door closes and locks them inside. And she freaks out because she assumes that he closed the door. She assumes that he did it to attack her, and so she kind of daydreams him attacking her when that was nothing going on, right? So she's already making assumptions and jumping to conclusions that he's out to hurt her. There's another time when they're driving in the car and things are kind of quiet because things were kind of awkward, and she starts daydreaming about him attacking her again. So she's already priming the pumps in her brain for this to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now he's at fault too. You know, I mean, I'm not trying to put it all on her because I saw a review of this movie today by a female reviewer, younger college-age female reviewer on YouTube, and she pretty much laid all the responsibility on Robert being the bad guy for everything, and even so much so as kind of intimating that when Margot sneaks into his garage to put a tracking device on his car, that she was justified for doing that. And I'm like,
What?
you're right. So anyway, so they go on this second date. They go see a movie, and he takes her to see Empire Strikes Back.
There we go.
Okay, he takes her to see Empire Strikes Back, and she hates Star Wars. She doesn't like it, and he's so into it, and he's showing her. He's like,
he's into Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford is the perfect level of cool, he would say, right? And there was that scene between Han and Leia, and he's just so into it, and he saw it as a romantic movie because of Han and Leia in Empire Strikes Back, and she didn't see it at all. So they just said, okay, well, let's just go to a bar. So they go to a bar, and then she can't get in because she's only 20. And that's when he finds out she's only 20. He thought she was older than that because she said she was, a sophomore in college or something like that. So he assumed she was at least 21. And she wasn't. So he got a little mad about that, but then they calmed down, and then he kissed her, and it was a really nasty, awkward kiss, which clearly showed at that point. And he was kind of socially awkward the whole time. And then when he kissed her, and it was like this gaping, wide open mouth kiss, kind of like Ace Ventura in Dumb and Dumber when he kissed that woman. He just opened his mouth as wide as he could and just engulfed her face with his mouth. This is kind of what this guy did, and it was sloppy and nasty and just made you wince watching it, which at that moment showed you this guy doesn't have a lot of experience with women. He doesn't have dating experience. He doesn't have experience kissing women, those kind of things. So he's socially awkward and just trying to meet somebody. And she thought it was sweet how awkward it was. So they decide to go to some other restaurant or place where she can get a drink somehow. I guess he buys them, or those people let her in. She has a few beers, and she decides she's going to go back to his place and sleep with him. And they get back to his place, and they start going at it, and he is completely just rushing through things, trying to take things off. He's completely awkward. And at that moment, she's going, okay, this is kind of weird. This guy doesn't know what he's doing, all this kind of stuff. And
she's talking to herself.
And and then at one point, she starts imagining that there's another part of her. There's another her in the room talking, and they're talking back and forth. And she's like, okay, this was consensual. She went back there because that's what she wanted. So it was a consensual thing to start with. She started to change her mind when things were so weird. And her friend was like, her imaginary friend, her, was just saying, you got to get up. You just got to go. You just got to go. And she was like, but he's nice and he's sweet, and I just feel bad if I do. And so that conversation that she was having with herself was a great example of, even in situations that may begin as consensual, there's dichotomy and there's conflict and there's confusion and there's doubt, even in the context of consent, which is the big thing today. It's got to be consent. That scene showed that even within consent, there's some difficulty. And everything they did, and they didn't show anything, but everything they did sex-wise was pretty much stuff he had seen on Pornhub. So what he thought as romantic were all these stereotypical images of manhood, Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, Han Solo, and all those kind of things. He saw that as romantic, when really it was kind of romantically pressuring in some ways, in a kind of a chauvinistic way. And the only thing he knew about sex was what he watched in porn. So again, it showed how media warps our ideas of romanticism and sex, and which turned her off.
Mine.
And
Hello.
So he was warped by that. She was warped, feeling like the whole world was dangerous. By the way, her roommate was like a moderator on a Reddit channel, a bunch of Reddit channels that were like super hyper aggressive, feminist and aggressive towards men, and all, kind of like the she-woman man-haters club kind of stuff. And so she had all that in her side and all the media that she saw, and so she saw men as dangerous, even though she kind of didn't want to. And so those misconceptions of men and women on both sides were just screwing up the chances of this relationship. And so she got out of there. She got back to her place and was talking to her friend. And her friend grabbed her phone and just texted him and says, I don't want to see you anymore. Don't text me anymore. And, Margot wanted to let him down easy. But her friend did that. And then that's when things started to get kind of dark. They didn't talk for a while. He kind of took it okay. But then one night he started texting her. And then it got harassing and threatening and calling her a whore. And all those
it's because he saw her at a bar. It's because he saw her at a bar doing a birthday thing for her friend.
Right. But just because he saw her at a bar didn't give him the right to say, is that the guy you're now? Sorry, I didn't mean to say that word. Sorry, I'll bleep that out.
Dang.
I didn't mean to say it. I honestly didn't mean to say it, but that's what he said in the text. I need to bleep that out. That just slipped out. But,
it slips out for me too, and you get all of them in hip pocket.
I know, and I apologize to people, and I will bleep that out. I'm going to look at their timestamp, and I'll bleep that out because I didn't mean to say that word. Because I don't say that word.
You work with veterans all day. You must hear it at least 10 times an hour.
Oh yeah, I do. Which makes it hard not to say it because it becomes just your vernacular, right? So I have to work hard at not using that word. You're absolutely right, but it's not a good word to use. So anyway, he starts accusing her of things and kind of in a threatening way. And then she's at work one night and she sees him and it's standing outside his car outside the theater. She calls the police, and the police say, so did he come inside? Did he say anything to you? She's like, no, he stood outside his car. Well, then what did he do? Well, he got in his car and he left. He didn't say anything to you? No. He didn't do anything to you? No. Then he didn't do anything illegal, And so he's got misconceptions about relationships. She's got misconceptions about, the dangerousness of all men. And so she decides, because now she doesn't know where he's at because, she wants to be able to keep an eye on him. So she decides, because she assumes he's a threat and he's a stalker, she decides to get a tracking device and sneak into his garage and put it on his car. Oh, and I forgot to tell you that after they had sex and they were laying in bed, she found out that he was 33. So she's 20, he's 33, which is a pretty big gap. And so that made it even more uncomfortable. So I forgot to mention that. So then, as she's putting this on his car, he hears her and comes into the garage and finds her and catches her. And in the ensuing scuffle, as he's trying to get the tracker from her, she maces herself. She wakes up later in the house with her eye stinging. He took her in the house. And she was like, can you just give me some water or something? And he's like, no, water will just make it worse. You need this or this or this. And that's when she found out he's a male nurse that works at a hospital, a single guy, no dating history. You looked in his house and he had Harrison Ford pictures everywhere. So he's just kind of a socially awkward.
He has cats.
And he has cats. And he had that dog, which was another issue, right? Which we can talk about.
It was a rescue.
Yeah, but anyway. That's another layer. I don't want to tell the whole plot, but there's another layer there too, but we won't get into that. But, and so then that starts a whole fight where she's trying to get away and he's fighting her to stay, not because he's trying to keep her prisoner, but he's like, no, you can't leave like that, because if you leave like that, I'm going to go to jail. Meaning,
because no one's going to believe me.
Because he said, no one's going to believe that I didn't do that. And so they start fighting because she's trying to get away and he's trying to keep her there in order to heal her eyes to let her go, but so that she can't be injured when she leaves his house. And then, fire happens because they're fighting. They fall down the stairs in the basement. A space heater falls over. The house catches on fire. And he's got like this drain trap in his basement. And he crawls in there and tries to get her to come in there with him. Right? And she won't at first, but then as she sees doesn't have an escape, she begs to get in there with him, and she gets in there with him. The house burns down, but they find them in there unconscious later, and they're curled up holding each other. It's like all the mess and all the crap just burned to flames on top of them. That's kind of the symbolism of that, right? Yeah. And you know what? And he got a new job and he moved across the country to get as far away from her as he could because he was scared. Mm-hmm. He was scared he was going to get accused of something, and he never did anything. The only thing he did was try to keep, and he did try to keep her in his house. He did try to restrain her. But the reason why he was doing that, because he didn't want to get accused of hurting her when he did nothing to hurt her. Her injuries were completely self-inflicted, and they only happened because she broke into his garage to put a tracker on his car when he had done nothing wrong. And so it just showed how warped the dating scene must be today. I've been married for 35 years. I haven't been in the dating scene for that long, right? I can't imagine what it must be like in the dating scene today. If everybody's running scared like that, and everybody's basing their opinions of the opposite sex based on what they see in the media, my goodness, no wonder nobody's getting married these days. What's up, Mitch? So, it's just, it doesn't make any sense why. You know what would make things work, make things better? If we got rid of media, if we got rid of social media, and we got rid of that stuff, and people started meeting and talking to each other and learning how to talk to each other again. They don't know how to do that anymore. Man, this was a scary movie for somebody that's in the dating scene right now. I can imagine, right? But it just had so many things on so many levels, and you know what? Here's the thing. Do you know the only couple that was normal in that movie?
The couple that did all the singing and were in drama?
the musical theater couple. Because
I don't think they were a couple.
Oh, they were. They talked about it. They talked about singing, and they were kids.
I could have swore that guy was gay.
No, they said that they met in musical theater and then they fell in love. They talked about that. So obviously you missed that scene.
I guess I did.
So they weren't into all the social media and the Reddits and all those kind of things. They were into musical theater. They met in theater where they're in plays interacting with people all the time. And even though they were really quirky, nerdy musical theater characters, they were the most normal people in the movie because they didn't get caught into all those traps of things. They tried to see the good in people, right? Instead of seeing the potential evil in everybody. So that was kind of funny to see. And I thought about that later in the afternoon. So anyway, so it's a really cool movie. It's interesting. At first, when I first started watching, I'm like, I don't know, man. But it's a movie that the more you think about it, the deeper, the more layers there are to all this, and the more of a really clear commentary it is on that whole nasty scene. So I'm good. I'm going to either be, married or a widower. That's all it's going to be. Those are my two options, or dead. I guess 3 options. So all right. So I talk way too much about that because I really kind of, as a psychologist, I was kind of digging all the different levels and stuff. So I kind of went off on that. Tell me your thoughts, because you said you only saw like one level, and I saw multiple levels. So what layers did you see?
The one level that I saw was people being afraid of communication. I mean, honestly,
absolutely.
People are just so afraid to just talk. I mean, just if you're worried about this, just say, I feel scared about this. This made me feel worried about this. Just talk. The worst thing anyone can say is no, or I don't feel like, or I don't feel that same way. Just if you just talk and communicate,
such
all
a good
this
point.
Conjecture,
such a good point.
Preconceived notions, all this stuff would just be non-existent. Just talk. Use your words. Habla inglés. Habla español. Sprechen Sie Deutsch.
I mean, if
speak.
So if they had done that, like if they had done that, in the bar, if they had done that, for example, if they had done it after the incident in the lab, where he broke the door open and they'd had a conversation about what happened there. She just tried to pawn it off, and he's all confused. What in the world happened there? Instead of her just saying, "Hey, that's freaked me out because I'm I'm worried something bad is going to happen. I'm worried I'm going to get attacked. So that he could then explain himself or defend himself. And if she had been more open and honest during that bizarre, super awkward sex scene, I mean, I've never seen.
You have to take actual deconstructive scene by scene analysis to make a scene like that awkward to see. We're talking like they had to pause like maybe every 10 seconds and be like okay, what would make it more awkward? What if we moved here? What if we shifted here?
Yeah.
How about try this line? Just make it more awkward, make it more cringe.
Well,
that's what they basically did.
That scene, I swear, man, that scene was funny, entertaining, uncomfortable, awkward, sad, and kind of scary, all at the same time. I felt all those emotions during that scene. It was just, I don't know that I've seen a scene with that many emotions at one time. So I thought they did a good job with that. So anyway, it's an interesting movie. It's not a movie. I mean, it was at like the Sundance Film Festival, so it was one of those kind of smaller movies. But I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
Oh,
but anyway.
It's blurred out on nothing, but I can tell that's the title of it.
It just says that's the name of my sex tape. That's what Mitch said. Yeah.
I knew you didn't have to say it.
Oh, whatever. They can't mute me because we're here. But anyway, it's an interesting movie, and it's definitely one that's interesting to check out if you're interested in human relationships and how human relationships can kind of go completely sideways, just like you said, based on lack of communication or making wrong assumptions about people, you know. So, but here, okay, but so I would probably give it. I'd probably give it a 6 or a 7 out of 10. You know, I mean, I wouldn't. It's not a movie I would seek out to go see, but it's one of those movies where that wasn't bad. I mean, I wasn't miserable watching it like some other movies we've watched, but
I don't know. I mean, I feel like Robert, he was just an awkward guy, and that's nothing to be ashamed of or should be chastised for.
No.
If anyone should put me at the top of that list,
right? I mean,
at the top of that list.
That just shows that, you know, people. It's like. And this is what I've heard from men that don't date or choose not to date. They're like, there's no way, because they say they want somebody that doesn't play games, but then they keep playing games and they want the smooth talker. But the smooth talker is the one that's going to play games and mess with them. But they don't want someone who's socially awkward, but they're the ones that are usually going to be the most honest, kind ones. And so it's like, so guys are like, so I'm done. I'm not even going to try.
I've said the same thing ever since high school, haven't I, Dad? Mm-hmm. Girls say they want the nice guy, but they want the nice guy who also looks like a J. Crew model, or at the time looks like a sparkly vampire or a shirtless tanned up werewolf.
Yeah, that was back then, not now.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So. I'll allow it. So anyway, so there's some superhero links to this in this movie. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Do you know who Robert is? The guy that plays Robert. What was his name again? Let me pull it up here again. Nicholas Braun.
I'm guessing he's the guy in Marvel.
Nope, he's not in Marvel, but he was in a
DC?
superhero movie. He was in Sky High.
He was
the blonde one that could. He was the blonde one that could glow. That's him. That's him.
That was the glow guy.
It was the glow guy from Sky High. Yeah. When I first saw him, I'm like, he looks familiar. His body language, his voice sounds familiar, and also went, it's the glow guy.
Oh, Dad. Fun fact.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you remember Caitlin Frost from Flash?
Sure.
Did you know she was in Sky High?
Yeah, she was Ivy or whatever her name was. Yeah.
She was the plant girl, yeah.
Right. I knew that. Yeah.
How cool is that?
Right. Okay.
Anyway, wasn't Kurt Russell the dad?
Yes.
Wasn't Kurt Russell the dad in that movie?
Yes, he was. Okay, but I've got another more recent superhero connection, and the superhero connection to another superhero movie we were talking about earlier tonight.
Okay, so who's
ready?
connected to the Thunderbolts?
Taylor, her best friend that was the Reddit moderator, the super hyper feminist.
Yeah.
She is
Yes.
She's Julie Louis-Dreyfus's assistant in Thunderbolts. And there are some talks that she's going to become Songbird or something in the Marvel universe or something like that.
I don't know who that is.
I don't either, but I mean, they're just, and I may be wrong about the
so
specific.
many heroes are based off birds.
So, and I could be wrong about that one. It may be a different. I forgot who I heard, but it was. So there are talks that she may be eventually become a superhero in the MCU. So you get 2 out of the 3 main characters in this movie. Or have links to superhero movies that we know and love. So I thought that was.
Oh, Dad, real quick.
Wait a minute, because when I watched Cat Person, right, on like a Thursday, and 2 days later I go see Thunderbolts, and I went, "Hey, it's the feminist chick."
It's the girl.
Well,
it's
that was probably pretty sexist saying it that way, but anyway, it was the feminist girl that ran the Reddit that hated men on Cat Person. So.
I have a random question for you.
Okay, I'll have a random answer then. I'll roll the dice. What's up?
Okay, so the girl who plays Margot.
Yes.
Is it just me, or does she kind of look like the girl that plays Wednesday? That actress that played Wednesday.
You mean from the movies or from the Wednesday TV show on Netflix?
Wednesday TV show.
Oh, Jenna Ortega?
That actress. Yeah, Jenna Ortega. I kind of see a resemblance.
She actually reminds me more of Zoe Deschanel.
I don't see that whatsoever. Her eyes are too small.
She apparently she was the main character in a movie called Coda, which I think won the Academy Award a few years ago. I don't watch too many movies that ended up being on the Academy Awards list these days, so I never saw it. But it's about
Zoe was, or the girl that played Margot was
the girl that played Margot. So anyway,
okay.
So I mean. Look, most people that will listen to this podcast, the few that do, or the few that pop in here, thanks, Mitch, are not going to go watch this movie. But it's definitely one worth checking out. You know, it's kind of interesting. So anyway, so that's our thoughts on Cat Person. How about we roll the dice for the next one, and then I'm going to get out of here and go take some more medicine because I'm starting to get really hot. So I don't know if that means I'm getting a fever or if I've had a fever and it's breaking. I don't know. Or if I'm just in the hot attic, I have no idea. So, and I still can't breathe.
I'm gonna go to sleep.
So, all right. So let me roll the dice. All right, and let's see what we got. All right.
Do it.
All right. As my nose keeps running. So okay. So we rolled a 14, which will be Netflix. So we'll pick something off of Netflix, and then I rolled.
Netflix is always good.
I rolled a 9, which that will be the sci-fi category.
Okay, finally.
All right, and then I rolled an 80. So let me go scroll down the sci-fi movies and find the 80th sci-fi movie on Netflix, and we'll see what that is. I'll be right back. Okay, so it looks like we are going to watch Resident Evil Retribution, which is movies based off the video game Resident Evil. I don't think I think Retribution is second or third. Second or third movie, so it's definitely a sequel. And Mitch goes, "Yes."
We should probably watch the other.
So I'll probably
watch the other ones prior.
I'll probably watch the other ones just for the heck of it. But yeah, so we're watching Resident Evil Retribution next week, or the next time we have a show, because lately we've been kind of going about every other week. So we'll see. Hopefully it'll be next week. As a matter of fact, Connor, it probably needs to be next week because the next 2 Fridays I'll be unavailable. Because the next Friday, the 23rd, will be the day before I fly out to California, and the next Friday I'll be in California. So. So we'll definitely try to push it in for next week, and we will hang out and talk about Resident Evil Retribution and see what's going on there. And definitely we already have a fan that's ready for that. So because Mitch apparently approves of that movie choice. So we're going to
Apparently.
So we're going to do that, and we're going to get out of here now, and we're going to sleep and try to get over this cold, and then I'll just do some editing of this podcast tomorrow to get all the junk out in the middle. So thanks, Mitch, for stopping in. Thanks, folks, for listening on the podcast. Y'all take it easy. Have a good week, and always remember,
stay nerdy, my friends.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.